Get instant fantasy football advice through real-time polls by visiting pollsports.com.
I'm getting a little low on fuel.
What are you doing, Doc?
I need fuel.
Give me fuel, take a fly, send me trace it out of sight.
Now, here are your hosts, John Eddie Jr. and Tom Tuttle.
Welcome back to Fantasy Fuel. We've got a lot of news today, right off the bat. But first, of course, as always, I'm with Tom Tuttle, and in a few minutes, we will have a special guest. So stick around for that. But we got to get right to it, because Ezekiel Elliott is in the news again.
Wow.
And it was just a couple days ago where I had heard that the security guard was going to press charges. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was at least newsworthy. Now, besides the security guard pressing charges, per a league source, Ezekiel Elliott has privately said that he will hold out of training camp unless he gets a new contract.
And here we go. Oh, my gosh. I mean, what can you say? At this point, does this drop his stock?
It has to.
You would think. You would think there's going to be other guys, like maybe Kamara is going to be taking over Ezekiel Elliott. And at this point, do you think it's going to be all Le'Veon Bell-like situation to where he's just not going to play if he doesn't get a new contract? Wow. I mean, this is kind of a big deal in a way.
It is a big deal. Yeah. And partially just NFL-wise, Dallas Cowboys-wise, because the Cowboys weren't supposed to be focusing on an Ezekiel Elliott contract this season. They were supposed to focus on DeMarcus Lawrence, Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper. They have a lot of pressing concerns. If he's going to try and sign a giant contract now, those other guys aren't going to be able to all fit right now.
Yeah, Cowboys aren't in the greatest of situations when it comes to their stars, because Prescott's going to need money, Cooper's going to need money. Obviously, Zeke's going to need money if he's going to stay there, but that's just not a good situation for them at all, because all these guys demand some kind of money. If it was me, I'd say move on with Prescott and find somebody else, because he's going to demand money that it might not be worth out of him. Zeke, completely worth it. Cooper, I don't know about. DeMarcus Lawrence, he already signed, so we're there. But, yeah, I would say Prescott's the guy I would kick out of the bunch if I had to. It's tough because it's hard to find a quarterback that you can trust in, and I know the Cowboys are trustworthy.
Somebody in the Cowboys organization trusts Dak Prescott. Yeah. I don't know who that is. If it's just Jerry Jones, that's enough to keep him around. Right. But I don't know that I would want to stick with Dak Prescott. But I'm fine with it if the Cowboys choose to.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, no doubt.
All right. So, not only is Ezekiel Elliott talking about money, Melvin Gordon also wants a new contract, and he says he will not report to training camp, and he will demand a trade, according to his agent. Now, again, you had mentioned the name earlier. Le'Veon Bell has paved the way for these running backs to just say no.
Yeah, and it stinks because, I mean, obviously I want him on the Jets, but Le'Veon Bell is a great running back, no doubt about that. And when you think about Melvin Gordon, it's like, is he as good as Le'Veon Bell has been or will be? It's tough, but all these guys are going to sit here and say, I can get more, or I can get what I want. Whether or not it's more, because Le'Veon Bell still got what he wanted. It wasn't as much as what we thought it would be with the Jets.
No, it really wasn't.
Because we were expecting more, but I think part of that was James Conner. And now if Melvin Gordon holds out for the entire year and his backup does really well, Melvin Gordon's not going to get as much when it comes to free agency or whatever it is. So that's kind of what we're all going to look at with Zeke and Melvin Gordon and whoever else wants to take this route.
It seems to be one right after the other.
Yeah.
It looked like Le'Veon Bell was going to pay off, but like you said, it really wasn't that big of a contract
Right.
at the end of the day when we thought it was going to be, a mega contract.
Right.
So, yes, he paved the way for these guys to do the same thing so that they get guaranteed money, but it's not going to be huge money.
Right, and I think James Conner kind of threw a wrench into it.
Yes,
If he would have
did.
really performed terribly, it would have looked really good for Le'Veon Bell, and all of these running backs would have gotten a lot of money because that's just how it's going to be. I think, like I said earlier, it all dictates on what the backup will do throughout the regular season.
Yes, and then Austin Eckler will probably be
Right.
a major asset in fantasy. I know he won't be the main back.
Right, but yeah, he's definitely somebody who you would have to look at if Melvin Gordon's not going to be playing. I mean, he's 100% fantasy relevant at that point.
Like, OMG, it's, like, so totally the cringeworthy player of, like, the week.
You still love that,
I
don't
still
you?
love that one. That's so great.
All right, I guess maybe this is up to the listeners if it's cringeworthy or not. I thought it was, but I'm sure there's a debate. Golden Tate has recently said that Matthew Stafford is the best quarterback he's played with.
Well, when you think about who he's played with, the first thing you think, well, Eli Manning, of course. Okay, that's fine. He hasn't really played with him yet. But then you think about Russell Wilson. It's like, Russell Wilson?
I mean,
Or Matthew
a
Stafford?
Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Yeah, I don't know who I'm going to choose. I think it's Russell Wilson every time.
And
I mean, what do you do?
He's also played with an MVP Super Bowl quarterback.
Yeah, it's true.
Granted, it was only for a couple of games, but, he has played with decent quarterbacks.
I think as far as, the Eagles, he was only there for a year, and it wasn't even for the full
Right,
year.
Of course.
So it's going to be hard for him to know who was the better quarterback out of them and Matthew Stafford. So I'll let that one pass. But Russell Wilson, that's a hard one to pass. That
Yes,
really is.
it is. I mean, we're, of course, fans of Russell Wilson
yeah,
anyway.
of course we are.
And you just did a shuffling the deck with Russell Wilson as well. So I thought it was relevant to
good
us
timing.
today. So speaking of favorite NFL teams and the New York Jets, Chris Herndon, gonna miss the first 4 games.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to bump him down our rankings just a smidge for overall. But maybe he's a guy now that you can pick up.
Yeah, and then maybe in week 5 and later, he's somebody who you just picked up, and you're going to get something out of him. It really remains to be seen what the Jets are going to do in his absence because they don't really have the best of tight end talent after him. And I kind of I had this idea in my head that
yes,
I kind
you
of
did.
plopped out to you, and I don't know if they're going to do this, but my idea would be you take Montgomery and you kind of put him in the tight end role, and then you still hold on to I can't think of the other
McGuire and
not
Cannon.
Yeah, Cannon, and then you just continue on with that as your trend there. But then when week 5 comes, what do you do?
Right.
That's the question. And
if Montgomery produces, it
Right.
would probably be more of an H-back role, not a true tight end role. But if he produces there, then you've got a gadget player maybe that you can actually use.
Right. I wasn't saying a tight end role. I was just saying he would replace the production that Herndon could have because he's more of that type of running back / receiver because he's been a wide receiver in this league before. So, yeah, it's interesting. I don't think they're thinking that right now, though.
All right, a little bit of injury news before we get on to the meat of the show. Emmanuel Sanders.
Man crush.
We love Emmanuel Sanders on this show.
Yeah.
Mostly because the last couple of years he was such a great value going 3.5 rounds after his teammate Demaryius Thomas and putting up the same types of numbers.
Still a great value this year.
Oh, yeah, and he's going even later this year because of that injury.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently he already looks 100%.
Yeah.
And some people say you can't even tell that he was injured.
Yeah, I saw a couple months ago he was sprinting, and I was like, wow, wasn't it like just 5-ish months ago that he got hurt, and he's sprinting already? And yeah, it looks really good that he's going to be on track, but you still never know what could happen. At the beginning of the season, you never know if he could re-injure something or be favoring something because of the Achilles. So it remains to be seen, but at this point, it looks really good for Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah, that could be a very, very good value pick.
It's a steal at this point.
What has been the 10th, 11th-ish round we've been seeing
very
him go?
late.
So,
yep.
yeah, I'm taking him all day in that round right now.
Oh, yeah.
Now, a couple episodes ago, I had said something about if you hear the words Sammy Watkins and hamstring in the same sentence, you need to run.
Yeah.
Well, we're hearing Darius Geis and hamstring in the same sentence now. Are we running?
I don't know if I'm running. I might be like speed walking, but it's not. It's something that you have to pay attention to. Hamstring injuries, like I've said so many times, are probably the worst football injury because you can come back from ACL, you can come back from Achilles, you can come back from concussions. Well, concussions are kind of bad too because you end up getting more of them later on in your life. But hamstrings. You keep hearing it every time you get one, you get two, you get three. I hate hamstring injuries. They're just the worst. They really are. And for this to happen to Darius Geis kind of is upsetting because I was really hoping he's going to have a really good year, and I still think he can. But if this hamstring injury becomes something more serious or you see it pop up again, it's going to be definitely something you have to look at because I hate hamstring injuries. Hate it.
Now, Darius Geis has said that there's nothing special about this hamstring injury, and it's not going to be a problem.
They all say that.
They all say that.
And
it seems like 50% of them end up being right, and the other 50%, we are just frustrated for weeks upon weeks until we give up and we're like, all right, well, his season is done, and I'm not dealing with it anymore.
Yep.
And there's a good way to figure out whether or not you should deal with this problem. And that is from Pole Sports.
You're right.
Now, we have a special guest on the line. We are introducing the creator of PoleSports.com, Jon Castillo. Welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
All right. Awesome. So, Jon has graduated from Boston University with a bachelor's in business administration, but he has fallen in love with coding and programming and all that good stuff. So, why don't you tell me, what was your initial inspiration to start Pole Sports?
Yeah, so, Pole Sports, I really built it for myself. It's something that I've always kind of wished existed, and I couldn't believe that it didn't. But the catalyst for the idea really came about during one of my fantasy leagues last season, where I run a league with a couple friends of mine that I grew up with, and I was involved in a trade myself that the league wasn't too happy about. So, so the trade ended up being, it was Christian McCaffrey and Doug Baldwin for Larry Fitzgerald, Julian Edelman, and Chris Thompson. Okay. But mind you, this was immediately after week one. Yeah, so McCaffrey had an underwhelming week one. I think he had like maybe 50 yards or so on the ground, nothing too crazy. And Doug Baldwin had just gotten hurt. But I'm a big McCaffrey fan, so I wanted that trade. I was deciding to McCaffrey.
Well, you fit in on this show then.
In retrospect, I made out like a bandit. But at the time, the league was there was about 3 or 4 guys who just thought the trade was way too one-sided. Yeah. And they wanted to put a veto in. And since I'm the commissioner, I was kind of like, all right, so how do I handle this? Because I have a conflict of interest here. I want the trade to go through, but I want to be fair. Right. So I essentially told the league, let's just do a vote. There's 12 of us. If 7 votes want the trade vetoed, then we won't pass it through and it gets vetoed. But it's just kind of funny because there was about 3 or 4 people who thought very strongly about the trade not going through. But I wanted to get second opinions, and I would text a couple friends of mine and get their thoughts. And it was pretty split down the middle on the opinion on which side was better. Right. So I was like, man, there should be a website somewhere where I could just kind of, post up a poll, put my league details in, the league size, whether it's PPR, and just be able to get some feedback on what people think on this trade. So that's kind of how it culminated in my head. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to start working on this. This would be cool to have out there.
For sure.
Definitely. It's awesome.
I know before we got into the podcast and we had multiple friends, we were in leagues together, leagues apart. Every time we'd have a question, I'm texting Tom, I'm texting our friend Joe, I'm texting our other friend Ace, and I'm like, what do you think about it? And then like 50% would say one and 50% I'm like, I need more. I need more people for this. But I would send something out on Twitter and maybe get 1 or 2 replies or something on Facebook, and it wasn't working. So When I saw you post about this online, I jumped at it because I was like, yes, I know there's more than just me that has been looking for something like this.
Everybody's looking for this. That's what I would say, because you always have a question, no matter what it is. Is it, do I start this guy or trade this guy for this guy? There's always some kind of fantasy football question. No matter how good you've been, no matter how many championships you've won, there's always some kind of question you have to get answered that you just are on the fence about.
Okay. And it's constant. It's every single week, and it's the same questions over and over again. Who do I pick up? Who do I drop? Who wins this trade?
Yes,
it's constantly nagging at you all season long.
And when the season gets here, it's going to be a cyclone of people in and out and asking questions on PullSports.com. I can just see it now. Like right now, it's a constant stream of people coming in and starting some polls, but really there's only, is this a good trade type of poll?
Right.
And when it gets closer to that season, oh my goodness, it's going to be, who do I start on Sunday mornings?
Right.
It's going to pop up all day long.
I'm super excited for that. It's actually funny because I usually plan a Jets opening. I'm a big Jets fan.
Yeah.
And, that's right, Tom. So for the past 6 or 7 years or so, I plan a Jets opening day. We get a bus together. A bunch of us go out to the stadium and tailgate through the whole thing.
That's awesome.
And I was thinking this year, I'm like, man, I really want to be home for opening Sunday and be able, to be on the website and be around in case I need to, I want to see it in action for the first time on a Sunday.
Yeah,
so I'm super excited about that.
We would like you to be there too, because I'm going to be on there. We're probably going to be doing something that morning on opening day, and we'll probably have that popped up right next to our Facebook live feed, and we'll just be going back and forth and talking about those polls while people are asking us questions. So that should be an awesome first day.
That's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I cannot wait for week one. Whoa, okay. It's getting close, though.
I can't wait.
It's getting close.
So how long have you been working on this app or apps in general?
Yeah, so I got started with software development about 6 years ago. After I graduated from college, I kind of stumbled upon it, ended up really enjoying it, and I've been working as a developer for the past 6 years. But the actual code for Pull Sports didn't become a thing until around March, so just a couple months ago. So I started working on it in early March, and then I put out the publicly available beta in mid-May. I believe it was on May 15th. So it's relatively new still. It's been about 8 or 9 weeks since it's been released as a beta. But it's been a cool ride so far. I've gotten some great feedback on the app, on the concept of how things are playing out, and just trying to work in all the feedback that I can in time for the football season.
Yeah, and what are your favorite aspects of Pull Sports right now?
Yeah, so for me, it comes down to the credibility system and the coin system. So for those who aren't familiar with the coin system or who haven't had a chance to check it out yet, essentially what I'm looking to do is build a community around Pull Sports. And I figured the best way of doing that would be to provide a way to get rewarded when you are contributing to the website. So, for example, let's say you just signed up. Once you create an account, you get 100 coins credited to your account automatically. And the coins are what you use to create polls of your own. So you can't just make an account, create 1 million polls, and just not come back and help out and offer your advice afterwards. So the way it works is when you vote on other people's polls, you earn coins. So for each poll that you vote on, you earn 1 coin back, and then you trade in 10 coins to create a poll of your own.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that'll build a nice cycle of people helping each other out and paying it forward.
Yeah, sounds like a really good system. I really like how that is worked. And all that being said, I mean, you've said so many great things about what Pull Sports is, but what do you have about Pull Sports that you can say is going to come, and what are you looking forward to in the near future for Pull Sports?
Yeah, so the other piece, the credibility side. So, for example, one of the recent releases that I added a couple weeks ago were credibility badges. And what that means is you get a badge next to your user profile based on your usage on the website and based on how credible you are off of how you comment on polls and how thoughtful and helpful you are in those comments. So, for example, right now, the number one thing that gets weighted into your credibility is whether or not a poll creator awards your comments as a top comment.
Okay. Yeah.
And that gets weighted the most heavily. And then the second thing being whether or not your comment gets upvoted by the community. So those two attributes right now are weighted the most into your credibility. But that's today, right? So one of the big drawbacks of that is that, if you get credibility for being upvoted, it does introduce the idea of the hive mind mentality, where just because you have a popular opinion, right now you would be credible. And that's not necessarily, the best way of doing things, obviously. Yeah. So what I'm working on, and I can't do this until the season actually kicks off, but what I'm working on is the accuracy score of polls being weighted into your credibility. So it's going to come down to two poll types. Both of those being who do I start and who do I stream?
Okay.
Because they have small windows of time. So in about 7 days, once the week is over, you can log in on Tuesday and you can retroactively go back and look at every single poll that you voted on in those two categories and see if you're right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's really awesome. Yeah, it's really awesome. And I think that is probably for me, that's like what I'm looking forward to really see what it's going to be like. Am I going to be accurate? I have a feeling I can be accurate, but I think the thing is for me is when you see the accuracy and that this person who voted on your poll is being accurate, you can say, okay, that weighs a little more to me. Other than just saying, okay, all these guys have voted for this, but then this one guy who's always accurate voted the other way. Okay, maybe I should pay attention. And I like that.
Yeah, there's guys on Twitter that they say themselves are accurate, and a lot of people will just ask the question to them, and they'll get their answer, but they don't get anybody else's answer.
Right.
And I think this is where Poll Sports is going to separate from the pack. Is you're going to see a whole lot of people voting, and then you're actually going to see who is accurate enough to trust next week. And then maybe you just send a message to that person like, hey, I don't care what anybody else says. You've been accurate on 90% of my polls. Yep. Where do you stand on this one? And hopefully that's going to be me and Tom in the near future.
Very well could be. It could also be a little different. Who knows?
Yes. We will see. So we're going to, right now, we're going to go right on the website. The polls for today. I have not voted on the polls yet today. I was waiting until the show. So we're going to do these really quick just so the listeners can see what we're looking at. Yep. And then we have a few polls that have been around for a few weeks or so that have enough votes on them, and we'll see what the results have brought. And maybe after some news of today and recent weeks, maybe somebody would have wanted to change their mind. But for today, the polls that we have right now, it says who do I start, but I'm guessing it's probably should I make this trade, which is just one of the many different filter types that you can use on Poll Sports. This one is Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman or Kareem Hunt.
Well, I'll start this one off. I guess it's Dynasty, so it's tough because you're thinking, well, Kareem Hunt's not going to give you anything for 8 weeks, but I'm going with that just because it's Dynasty. Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman are okay. If you have anything else at running back, you're probably going Kareem Hunt. That's what I would be feeling at this point. But if you have absolutely nothing else, I would probably go with Lindsay and Freeman because you need something. And if that's the case, that's maybe you do it.
Yeah, if you need a running back now, then you obviously have to go with the guys who are going to be on the field for the first half of the season. But if you're going for that home run, I would probably go with Kareem Hunt myself. But I lean towards Lindsay and Freeman just because I know they're going to be on the field.
I clicked Kareem Hunt, and I was the only one that voted for that.
It's a new poll, so we'll see if anybody else weighs in. But Mr.
I'm leaning the same way.
Okay.
No, there we go.
All right. Well,
you get that 2-for-1 deal, and I think that neither guy is going to break out, but you never know. And if they do, you at least get the 2-for-1 deal where you have that piece added to your team of a starting running back. Where Kareem Hunt, he's obviously a lot more talented, but he's going to be missing for a couple of weeks, and he may or may not, pick up where you left off.
Yep.
And there's also a guy that's also there in Chubb that's going to be something special himself. At least I think so. And so that's going to give it a little bit of a different story as well.
All right, now for the question of the polls that we are voting on right now that were brand new. Who wins this trade? It is a Superflex Dynasty, and I have never seen a poll like this on here before, so I can't wait to see what happens after there are a bunch of people voting on it. Again, who wins this trade? Superflex Dynasty, straight up, Patrick Mahomes or Saquon Barkley?
That is one of the hardest questions you can ask.
Yes, it is. I can see either one of them going in the top couple of picks in a startup Superflex Dynasty, but do you trust Patrick Mahomes for 15 years, or do you trust Saquon Barkley for the next 8?
It's hard because running back is key, but it's a super flex. So we're talking about the best quarterback in the league, and then you're going to have another quarterback as well, because if it's super flex, you're probably starting another quarterback, unless you have ridiculous lineup.
Right.
But I think I already voted for that one. I think I ended up voting for Barkley, but I think I have to almost switch my thought here because, you got the best quarterback in the system now. And he lit it up last year.
I voted for Mahomes just because if you are truly going to be in that league forever, I think that's a much better asset.
Yep.
But Saquon Barkley is leading in the votes as of right now.
Okay.
So running backs are still king, according to a few voters already on boards.
People might not have seen that it was a super flex.
That's true.
If you're just scrolling through and you're just clicking on stuff, you might not see it.
That is one of the things that I know people are probably going to do. They're not going to look at all of the information.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where the accuracy will eventually come into play.
Yep.
Well, this guy didn't realize it was a dynasty, but he voted anyway. But there's enough people out there that will be looking at it, especially Tom and I. I read everything, especially the comments and stuff when it comes down to these trades. Next one on the list is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Curtis Samuel or Marquez Valdez-Scantling and a 2019 third-round pick.
Here's how I see it. The third-round pick, I'm putting out the one. I don't really care about that. That's just kind of like whatever. But if you have Scantling on your Marcus Valdez-Scantling on your team, it's almost like a big, huge wild card. If he goes off, he's going to go off, and he'll probably go off for a long time with Aaron Rodgers. Curtis Samuel, I don't see being a go-off type of guy. He just doesn't have the team. Aaron Rodgers is just amazing, and when you have somebody, a wide receiver who has a chance to be that guy, that to me is more valuable than a guy that you kind of already know who he's going to be. So that's why I'm leaning toward Marcus Valdez-Scantling, and I'm going to vote on that. All right.
I'm going to ask John this one because he's an AFC guy just like you. I kind of have my leanings since I'm more of an NFC guy. Where do you fall on Curtis Samuel or Marquez Valdez-Scantling?
I'm definitely on the Scantling side.
Okay.
If you have the opportunity to have the number 2 guy for Aaron Rodgers, I'm going with that upside every time.
That's what I'm talking about right there. That's a perfect example. Number 2.
And that also
go
loops me back to the previous question with Mahomes, and Barkley as well. There's no way I'm taking Mahomes over Aaron Rodgers. There's no way. I need to see more out of him. I don't care what of a season he had last year, how amazing he was. Rodgers is still the guy.
I can't blame you for that train of thought. But anytime somebody sees that word dynasty and Patrick Mahomes, they're going to take him over Aaron Rodgers. It might not be the best for the next couple of years because this will be a perfect year for Patrick Mahomes to show us what he's really got.
And what if he shows us what he's really got, and it's not what it was last year. Now you're thinking, man, I just spent my first rounder on him if it's a super flex, and I could have got Aaron Rodgers later.
Mm-hmm. Yep, could have had Saquon Barkley and possibly, another great quarterback. Maybe Andrew Luck on the other side. I don't know how.
But everything I've seen out of Mahomes is insanely ridiculous. The no-look throws, all the crazy, like, just thread the needle things that he's done really makes me feel like he is the best quarterback in fantasy football at the moment.
Yes.
He has to prove to me that he's not. For me to not take him over Aaron Rodgers.
Now, the thing here is, can you wait one more year and get Patrick Mahomes next year? Or is it, if he proves it, he's going to be ridiculously expensive to try and get in another league next year. So you kind of have to take that chance to hopefully get that next Aaron Rodgers type fantasy player.
That's a very good point. But right now he is probably the number one quarterback. So if you're going to get him, you got to take him early anyway.
Him high. Yep, so, you do. Okay, a real quick one here. Basically, would you trade up to the 210 and give up a 304 and a 310 just to move up a few spots? It's a 10-team league, so it's only 4 spots to move up.
Yeah.
Would you give up 2/3 to get back into the second round this year?
It really depends on what I think is going to be available in the rookie draft, but I'm probably going with the 2/3.
Yeah,
and I'm going to vote for that.
All right.
Yeah, that's the side of vote around as well. It's all upside at that point.
Yep.
Yeah, you want the additional picks at that point, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so far that is the majority. This one was an interesting one. I'm not 100% sure that this is a real poll on here because I don't know anybody that would do this. But which would you rather have? The 10th pick in the first round or the ever consistent and boring Lamar Miller?
At this almost too easy. I think you just have to go with the 10th pick. Lamar Miller is a dynasty.
Yes.
So
dynasty.
Lamar Miller is 100% not going to be worth it in the next couple years. Right now he's going to be a fine back, but that 10th pick is going to be somebody in the future for you. You would hope. And I voted for it. And right now it says it's pretty close.
Pretty close.
It's really not that far off.
Nope.
All right. Yeah, so one thing about this poll in particular, though, the person who would be getting the Miller side is a contender this year. So I think that's the reason why it was so split down the middle, or close to being split down the middle.
Okay.
That makes
because you at least know what you're
getting.
Sense,
yes.
Right.
Yep. And Lamar Miller, he is just so... He's never been hyped up except for his first couple of years in the league.
Yep.
And then we got traded to Houston. And then ever since then, everybody's just like, eh.
You get him so late, and it's still a number one running back on a team, and you're sitting there thinking, well, do I want him? It's like you never really want him, but it's like, well, he's still there. I gotta take him, right?
Yeah.
So you end up taking him, and he usually gets you. He's consistent. He gets you 15 points a game or so, and that's what you need.
Yep, that's it. One poll left for today before we get into some that have a lot of votes, and we can talk about percentages and whatnot. This one,
this one is,
I think, should be weighted one side.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
PPR Dynasty, Trey Burton, this year's 210,
mm-hmm.
and Spencer Ware, which I'm guessing is probably a throw-in. Maybe the guy's got. Well, I don't even know if Spencer Ware's on a team right now.
I mean, why do you even want Spencer Ware? Like, that's just
know.
Yeah.
And would you rather have that side or Austin Hooper and next year's mid-second rounder?
This is 100% Austin Hooper. I like Trey Burton, but Austin Hooper has just proven it last year.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness. That is insane what just happened. More people have voted for Trey Burton.
Yeah. I'm very confused.
That is wow.
Trey Burton had a lot of upside last year, but I'm not seeing that anymore out of him. And Austin Hooper has been consistent enough to be a top 10 tight end.
Well, I think Trey Burton could be top 10 as well. I think he was top 10 last year, but Austin Hooper, 100% to me, has the better outlook for not only this year, but for the future as well. That's crazy.
Would you like to weigh in on that one, Mr. Castillo?
Yeah, Burton had just so much hype in the offseason last year before the season started. and I feel like people are still latching on to that. I am personally. So that's why I chose the Burton side. I think that he'll have the season that he was supposed to have last year this year.
I hope you're right.
I hope you're right too, because I have Burton on the flag league, and that's my favorite league to play in. And so I have him. He's basically my starter because I got Greg Olsen, who I don't know what to expect out of. But yeah, if I had my choice though, I'd still probably go with Hooper. But Trey Burton, I think, is top 10. I really do. I think he's a top 10 tight end, but I think Hooper has a better chance to be in the top 5.
Yep.
Yeah,
all right.
They're both solid.
Let's move on to our first real poll that we were interested in, and that is who wins this trade: George Kittle and James Conner, or Melvin Gordon, Baker Mayfield, and a 2020 late first. And this is just a straight PPR Dynasty League, not a super flex. So Dynasty, what have you, Tom?
I'm looking at Kittle, and I'm seeing nothing else that can match him as far as tight ends go. And then I'm looking at Conner, and I can see a swap out, kind of, with Melvin. But Gordon is a better running back in my eyes than Conner at this point. Then I see Mayfield, who has a lot of hype on him right now because he's got two really good wide receivers, Chubb, and then Hunt will come in week 8, and that's going to help a lot. And then I see that first-round pick, and that throws everything off. Like, I would have 100% went with Kittle and Conner over Melvin and Mayfield, but then that first-rounder makes me want to lean that way.
And I was just the opposite. I think Kittle is such a good asset in this trade.
I agree with that.
I don't care about any. If it were and it doesn't say how many teams in there. If this were a 12 or 14 team league, I would almost take Kittle over Gordon right now, just with what's going on with him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, and Conner is just basically, I mean, yes, it's a smidge bit of a downgrade from Gordon overall, but it's not that much of a downgrade that would I take Kittle or Mayfield in a first in a 12-team league? I don't care about my quarterback.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that it was a late first.
A late first.
I did not see that. That does change a little bit. I still, it really depends, I guess, on who you have at your quarterback position. If Mayfield's all you got, then you got to think about that. You can't just go with that. But it's tough because Kittle is definitely top 3 tight end, no doubt. And you get to that upper tier as far as tight ends, and it drops down significantly to the next tier. It's almost like there's a second tier with nobody in it, and then there's a third tier with all the rest of the guys. Because the first tier is obviously Kittle and Ertz and Kelsey. Well, Kelsey could be in a tier by himself this year. We'll see. But, yeah, that's kind of what you have to think about when you're looking at Kittle. It's a tough one. I'm still leaning towards Melvin Gordon unless the news gets worse with him.
Right. And for those of you in listening land not on YouTube where you're following along and you can see this, it is 56% in favor of the Melvin Gordon Mayfield first rounder side. Now maybe with the news coming out of Gordon's possible holdout, maybe people would lean the other way. What do you say, John?
Yeah, for me, I'm going the Melvin side. You know, I'm a huge believer in Kittle. I think he's the real deal. He's going to do it for years to come. But Conner, for me, I think is way overhyped. I need to see more out of him, and I think Melvin is way better than Conner. And Mayfield, I think, is the real deal as well. He's so fun to watch, and I think he's going to keep doing it for years to come. So I'm going with the extra pick and those two guys over Kittle is the way I see it, really.
Yep,
I don't think Conner will be around for a while.
I can't fault either side on this one.
Yeah.
I just obviously we've talked about this before, I'm kind of the tight end junkie this year.
Yes, you
so
are.
when there's a tight end involved in a trade, I'm kind of all over that. So let's keep going with Melvin Gordon. You won't see this on your screen, but there was another poll. Melvin Gordon, straight up on that side, or Aaron Jones and a 2020 mid-first round pick for next season.
I hate this one because I really have high hopes for Aaron Jones this year, and I really think he could be really, really good. because of the numbers that he had last year and the fact that he led the league in yards per carry last year. And with a new coach, I mean, I've said all this stuff plenty of times, but with a new coach, there's a possibility they get to him more because that coach ran the ball a lot more on the previous team that he was on. So when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at what does the mid-first round pick value at? Because I do value Melvin Gordon more than Aaron Jones. Does it constitute 20% difference between the two? And that's where I have to say no.
That is a tough one. Right now, I don't put a whole lot of stock into 2020 picks yet.
Right.
But there are a lot of people out there that say next year's draft is going to be super deep.
Yeah.
So that mid-round pick could be considered a higher first-round pick in normal year's drafts.
Yeah.
So it could be a little more valuable, but yeah, man.
if you're worried about Melvin Gordon right now, it's not a bad thing to have Aaron Jones on your team because I really do think that Aaron Jones is going to have a good year. And I know I'm outside the norm on that because most people are still bashing Aaron Jones for whatever reason it is. I like it. I'd still go Melvin on this one, though, because I don't believe that he's going to hold out for the whole year.
All right. And before I reveal the percentage, Jonathan, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I'm taking Melvin. He's the sure thing, pending injury or the contract dispute issues, but he's a sure thing when you look at these, when you look at Aaron Jones and the pick that you don't know what you're getting there at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So this one for me is easy. I'm going Melvin Gordon.
Yep.
Yeah, I have to agree, although it would be tempting if we hear just a little bit more news of Melvin being seriously considering his holdout. But Melvin Gordon in this poll is 60% to 40% for Aaron Jones in the first. And before we get to the next poll, which is going to be about Alvin Kamara, apparently a team official asked Alvin Kamara to take out his nose ring before meeting with the GM during the draft process. And Alvin Kamara said, no, you don't like it, then you don't need to draft me.
That had to be the Jets. My goodness. I mean, we could have had Kamara. I just know it was the Jets.
It's got to be.
My gosh.
Got to be. No. Okay, so our Alvin Kamara poll question, I love this one. Who would you like, Alvin Kamara or Dalvin Cook and Keenan Allen?
Yeah, this one is almost – it's hard because I really like Kamara, but I also like Cook. And Keenan Allen I really like as well. You got Cook, who could be top 10. You got Keenan Allen, who could be top 10 wide receiver. I'm going Cook and Keenan Allen. That's just where I'm at right now because Cook could be as good as Kamara if he's healthy, and I think that's the biggest question with Cook at this point.
It's weird to look at this one because I really thought the Cook and Allen side would be higher.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it's not too far off.
Right.
But I guess if you're looking for that sure thing, you got to go with Kamara.
Yeah.
But, man, that is so tempting.
To me, it's not that far off from Kamara to Cook. It's a somewhat of a gap. But Cook, if he's healthy all year, it's really not that far off. And then Keenan Allen, I don't know. I feel like it's almost too good for me to not take Cook and Keenan Allen for Kamara.
All right. One more to weigh in. What you got?
Yeah, I'm going Kamara on this one as well.
Sure.
All three of these guys are studs, bottom line. But when it comes to studs like this, I'm going with the safe pick. And for me, also, the injury concern. I feel like Keenan Allen, that's always a concern for him. He finally had a healthy season for the first time in a while last year. But to me, that's always a lingering concern for both him and Cook. So that makes the Kamara pick for me just that much safer when you're talking about these high-caliber players.
Yeah, and I guess it also depends on what you need. If you have wide receivers already, you probably don't need the Keenan Allen and Cook side. And if you're looking for that stud, go with Kamara.
All right. I've got a rebuild poll here.
Okay.
This one, I was kind of shocked at how one-sided it was. And one of the sides is Alvin Kamara, Sony Michel, and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
And the other side is Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Brandon Cooks, Leonard Fournette, and this year's third pick in the first round.
Yeah.
That's a haul.
That seems like a lot to give. I mean, Kamara's great. Mahomes is great. Michelle could be something pretty good in the future, or even this year. But then you got Bell, who you know is going to have something this year. AB is going to have something, no doubt. I mean, it might not be what he had last year or in years previous, but it's still going to be something pretty decent. Cooks should be good. I mean, he's the best wide receiver on the team.
Right.
And then you got Fournette, who could be really good. I mean, you got another guy who's got injury issues. But then you got that third pick overall in the draft. That, to me, it's crazy how one-sided it is.
It is.
But I'm going with Bell, AB, Cooks, Fournette, and that 103.
Now, it was a rebuild, and I think that's probably why it's more one-sided.
Yeah.
If you're going to rebuild and keep these guys, why not get the possible best quarterback? One of the best running backs right now who has no contract issues, no holdout possibilities.
The thing, though, with that rebuild is I'm looking at the 103 and I'm thinking, boy, you're giving up the 103 to rebuild?
That's true.
That doesn't really compute. I understand the Mahomes and the Kamara and the Michelle. I get all three of them guys for a rebuild. But the other guys, I don't see Bell retiring next year. I don't see Antonio Brown retiring next year. I don't see Cooks retiring next year. Fournette's definitely not going to retire unless he gets hurt.
Yeah, well.
And then you got the 103. It's still, to me, one-sided for Bell, AB, Cooks, Fournette in that first round.
It is. And John, where do you come on?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Tom on this one. You know, give me Bell, give me AB, give me Cooks, Fournette. Fournette, I think, is going to have a bounce-back year, hopefully. Yeah. And he still has a lot left in him, I think. So all these guys could be absolute studs, you know, in the top five. So I'm going with the additional picks there for sure.
And this is the perfect example of why we need to have that accuracy rate.
The credibility, yeah.
Because right now it is 80% in favor of the Kamara, Michelle, Mahomes side, which I think is crazy. Like I could see either side. I thought maybe this was going to be, a 51-49 poll, but no, it's like everybody's like, screw it, I don't want that old Le'Veon Bell and that old Antonio Brown. Like, what? Really? Okay. Okay, we got one more that involves Alvin Kamara.
Okay.
Before we get to the meat of the show, because we have got a few polls we're going to talk about that involve Todd Gurley.
Oh, yeah.
But before we get there, one more with Kamara. It's Kamara and Goodwin versus Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, and the 104 2019 draft pick.
Boy, Kamara and Goodwin. I'm not a Goodwin fan. Never have been. And I see Mixon and Boyd, who I like fine. They're both good.
But they're both Bengals as well.
Okay. You don't have to go there. But they're both good, and I can start both of them every week and feel confident in them.
True.
And then you get the 104. To me, it's not that far of a drop-off from Kamara to Mixon, and I like Boyd more than Goodwin. That's just my personal opinion.
Sure.
And then you get the 104. I like that, too. I'm going with Mixon, Boyd, and the 104.
All right. The other Jets fan, are you a closet Bengals fan, or are you still on Kamara?
No, Tom again speaking my language here. Mixon over Kamara, not much of a drop-off there. I think Mixon is right up there with him. And Boyd, to me, is just way better than Goodwin. So that one for me as well
there we go.
Is easy.
Oh, and the poll right now is at 60% for the Mixon, Boyd, and 104 side, which makes sense. But, I figured I'd throw that one in there with Kamara actually losing a poll. All right.
And I forgot that pick was in there as well. There's also
104 right there.
That
pick, yep.
All right, let's move on to Todd Gurley, everybody's favorite story of the offseason. Is he going to be his former self? Does he have more than a couple years left in him? So the first poll we have here is a trade in a half PPR Dynasty 12 team. And just a couple of years ago, giving up both Todd Gurley and Leonard Fournette would have been insane. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, why would you give up two for sure stud starters? But right now, they're trying to get rid of Gurley and Fournette for Saquon Barkley and Calvin Ridley. And right now, it is insanely in favor of Barkley and Ridley.
The problem is I'm not as big of a Ridley fan as a lot of other people are. I do like Ridley. I think he's going to be good this year. But Todd Gurley is still got a chance to be the number one guy, and Fournette, he could be top 10 at some point. I don't know what to think about Barkley and Ridley together. To me, Barkley is 100% the best chance that he could have the best year. But then you got Gurley and Fournette. It's so close to me, but I would almost lean towards Gurley and Fournette as long. The problem there is they both have an injury type of issue laying forward there. So I would still go with Gurley and Fournette and just kind of cross my fingers.
I think this particular trade question may bring about something else that needs to be added to Pole Sports. Okay. I just thought about it looking at this. Maybe there should be another thing where we could put in, do we have to start 2 running backs?
Yeah.
Do we only need to start 1 running back? If this particular league only requires you to start 1 running back, I'm probably going Barkley all day.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about that.
That's a really good idea. Yeah, because right now all you really have is the additional comment box, and that just gets filtered in as an additional comment, but it's not visible right away unless you click into the poll. So it would be cool to highlight that somehow on the poll itself. You know, additional league details. Maybe an additional tag would do it.
Good idea. Yeah. There's so many different leagues out there. You can't have them all, staring you in the face when we're looking at these polls. But yeah, it would be nice because, like in the flag league, we only need to start 1 running back. Now there's 16 teams that you have to worry about. So if you don't have a second running back, you're gonna have a bad time probably in that league. But are you on the Saquon side, or are you sticking with the injury-prone running backs?
I'm going Gurley and Fournette.
Are you?
You guys already know that I think the Gurley, the news coming in is way overhyped in my opinion.
Of course.
And the way I see it, in redraft leagues, you're getting 2 first-round picks here in Fournette and Gurley, in my opinion. So I think I'm going with those 2 guys for sure. Even though Barkley is obviously an absolute stud, and you can't go wrong with him for years to come. But
and I think
give me the 2 first-rounders.
Yeah, and I think people see Barkley, and if there's not 5 first-round talents on the other side, they're like, no way, I'm not taking that. I'm not an idiot. Well, if Gurley and Fournette pan out, you have got 2 extreme studs at running back. So, and Calvin Ridley is just another wide receiver. Though he scored 10 touchdowns last year, he's not probably going to do that every year that he's with Julio Jones on the team.
Right. Now, if Julio leaves for any reason, there's a possibility that Ridley could be something a little better. But right now, it just doesn't – I'm not the hugest Ridley fan at this point.
All right. There's one on there. I didn't put it up as a graphic, but it was weird, and I think this was probably put up right after the Gurley news when they were blowing it out of proportion. Would you rather have Gurley and a mid-2020 first or Melvin Gordon? And I'm like, why would you even consider the Melvin Gordon side on that one? You're getting a first-round pick and possibly the number 1 overall running back in fantasy football? Like, okay, I don't even know. So it was 80% in favor of Gurley, although 20% in favor of Melvin Gordon was some very, very scared fantasy football owners. All right, we got one more poll that we're going to put up. I might add or talk about a few more, but this is a big one. It's a very big one. There's a lot of heavy hitters in this trade. It is one side. First, it is a half PPR Superflex 12 team. It does not say Dynasty, so I voted on this as if it were a redraft.
Okay.
And the options are Todd Gurley, Travis Kelce, Kenny Galladay, and the 202 in 2019 rookie draft versus Michael Thomas, George Kittle, and Leonard Fournette.
So I'm going to lead this one off because the first thing I always do is I always take the draft pick that's involved and I move it to the side. And when there's 3 guys, and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to compare them, Gurley and Fournette. Okay, not the hugest drop-off, but there could be a drop-off if Gurley is the number 1 guy again. But then you do think about the overblown news that we've been talking about is if Gurley isn't the guy, then Fournette is basically as good as Gurley is. Now, so let's just kind of compare that. Maybe Gurley wins that side. Now you got Kittel and Kelsey. To me, that's a wash. It's really not much of I don't see that as whatever. Who cares? And then you got Galladay and Michael Thomas. Clearly, Michael Thomas is the guy going forward. And then that 202. Does the 202 make up for the gap between Galladay and Michael Thomas? No, it does not. Therefore, I'm going with Michael Thomas, Kittel, and Fournette.
There you go. I think there could be a gap between Kelsey and Kittel. Could be.
Okay.
There's not enough for this trade unless
I'm saying Kelsey is. It's not a wash. I'm saying
Right.
Kelsey is higher than Kittel, but the problem is we don't know if Kelsey is going to get fed the ball every single time he's out there on the field. But what we do know is that Kittel is going to get fed the ball a lot as well.
Yes.
So if you are looking for a better wide receiver and not looking to downgrade too much in your running back, it clearly in my eyes is that Michael Thomas, Kittel, and Fournette.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I am okay with either side on this.
I am as well because the 202 does make up a little bit for it, but it's not enough in my eyes. Michael Thomas is great. Kittel is great. Fournette has a capacity to be great. All 3 of them I could really like. I don't like Galladay in this. If this was somebody else a little bit better than Galladay, I would 100% go with the Kelsey and Gurley side.
Yeah, Michael Thomas, if you had to put a gun to my head, I would probably go with the Michael Thomas side just because he is the rock.
Yeah.
And we have him in the Dynasty Savages League, so we count on him week in and week out, and he catches everything thrown to him. So you get 2 guys like Kittel and Michael Thomas, and then you just take a chance with whatever running back you can put in there. Leonard Fournette is basically being drafted as a running back 2 right now, but he could be a running back 1, and Todd Gurley is being drafted as a running back 1 and could just not ever play again. I don't think so.
He's going to play. I don't have any questions, but I will say sometimes he's getting drafted as a running back too. I mean, he's getting drafted in the second round, late in the second round in some of these drafts. So you got to think like this is obviously these are guys that already are on teams. You're not drafting, so you don't want to think as a draft. But to me, I see Fournette and I see Gurley. I see Gurley as the better guy. But if all that news is real, I really don't see much of a difference between the two.
All right. Let me guess. John's on the Michael Thomas, George Kittle, Leonard Fournette side.
Yeah, I mean, I love me some Todd Gurley, but there's just too much on the other side. Michael Thomas is way better than Kelsey, in my opinion, and Kittle is way better than Galladay as well. So it comes down to Fournette and Gurley, and the drop-off is there, but the drop-off with the other 2 guys is that much larger. So for me, that second-round pick doesn't matter much. So that's an easy one for me.
Yep. And for those in listening land, the poll right now is at 65% Michael Thomas, George Kittle, Leonard Fournette. So we were all agreeing with everybody else out there that has voted. Okay, we've got a few more we'll talk about. Let's see what we got here. Gurley, Cooper, and the 209 versus Kerryon Johnson, our guy Michael Thomas, Dallas Goedert, and a late 2020 first.
This is a tough one. I honestly do think it's tough because I'm looking at Michael Thomas and I'm looking at Gurley, and I think Gurley is. See, the problem is that Gurley could be a better option than Michael Thomas, but right now I'm looking at Michael Thomas and I'm thinking that Michael Thomas is the better option than Gurley.
Safer option, at least.
He's the safer option than Gurley. If I'm going safe, I'm going Michael Thomas. Cooper and Kerryon Johnson
everybody knows our stance on Amari Cooper for the most part. So.
Yeah, but the problem is I'm not the hugest on Kerryon Johnson either. So I'm just going to give that a wash. And then you have to add Goddard into the mix. Okay, that's fine. And then the first rounder. I'm probably going with Kerryon Johnson, Michael Thomas, Goddard in the first rounder.
Yeah, that seems by far the safest.
It's definitely
pick.
The safest. Yep.
If it were best ball,
there you go.
I might almost go the other way.
Yeah.
Just because Amari Cooper ends up having about 4 giant games a year and 12 so-so or crappy games. So, Mr. Castillo, where do you weigh in?
Yeah, I definitely agree that the safer side on this one is the Kerryon and Michael Thomas side, but yeah, I mean, it could go either way for sure. That Gurley Cooper side could be massive for a team, but Michael Thomas to me is as safe as it gets, and Kerryon I think is gonna have a huge year. So I'm going that side.
All right, Jets fans, here we go.
Oh no!
Do you want Gurley and the 202, or are you taking Le'Veon Bell and a 106?
Here's the problem.
There's one?
Yeah, well, the problem here is that Le'Veon Bell is almost every draft that I have done recently has been taken before Todd Gurley. And then you got the 106, and then you got Todd Gurley on the other side with the 202. So you would think that Le'Veon in the 106 would get more votes and get a better result. But you have to think about it for a second. If Todd Gurley is going to be Todd Gurley, do you think Le'Veon Bell is going to be anywhere close to where Le'Veon Bell was 2 years ago? He hasn't played for a year, and he's on a brand new team who I'm hoping he does amazing things with. But, man, that 106 is really, really tempting as well. So it's hard to say that Gurley is going to completely go nuts because of the knee injury talks and all that. But I'm probably going with Le'Veon in 106, and that makes a little bit of homerism in me.
All right, do we have another homer pick on this one?
Give me Le'Veon Bell on the pick.
Wow!
And the way I see it, Le'Veon Bell is 1 year younger. You know, I don't see that year off as a knock on him.
No,
I think he's 1 year younger. He's coming in nice and fresh. And Le'Veon Bell, in my opinion, is better than Todd Gurley.
Ooh, hot take.
Yeah.
No,
I'm hoping he'll pick up right where he left off when he was with the Steelers, and I think he's going to do it for us with the Jets. And this is my unbiased opinion.
Oh, of
course.
Right,
but no, really.
I'm never unbiased when it comes to the Jets. It's impossible.
Okay, we got one more for the Jets fans. It's almost the same, but there's a little difference in here. So now we're getting Gurley and the 113, so this was at least a 14-16 team league, and a third-round pick, or Le'Veon and the 101.
That's no question. Le'Veon 101. I mean, that's impossible. You can't go. The 101, I mean, that is another stud running back right there.
Well, maybe.
Possibly. Most likely.
Most likely.
50% chance.
All right. I'm sure Jonathan Castillo here is going to go with a Le'Veon side on that one, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. That one actually has 84% on the Le'Veon side, so no big surprise there. Let's see. Here is an interesting one. We've already talked about Gurley and Fournette on opposite sides. Now, this is just Gurley on one side. Just Todd Gurley. On the other side, you get Leonard Fournette. You get a 105, a 205, and a mid-first in 2020. Is that enough for you to take the downgrade in Leonard Fournette?
Yes. It is almost without question, because that 105 could be another stud. Running back, wide receiver, whatever it is. The 205, you can always find something there. And then that mid first-round pick next year's draft would be almost pushing it over the top in my eyes.
Yeah, that mid-2020 first, like I said earlier, there's a lot of people that love next year's draft class. That is what would put it over the top for me. And, do we have another Gurley homer on the line, or do we like the picks?
This one's really tough, just because you don't know what you're getting with that pick. But like you said, it's going to be a stacked draft class. If it's as stacked as people say it is, you're going to get a stud there with that 2020 first-round pick.
Yep.
So maybe slightly I'll go with that side, but it's super close for me.
Well, the majority of people that voted on that. 89% is
That's a big
taking
one.
the Fournette and pick side over Gurley.
Wow.
So, yeah, definitely a lot farther in favor in that side than I thought it was going to be. Okay, let's see. We'll do 2 more polls I've got sitting here. These are a little closer. One side of Todd Gurley, Evan Engram, and Mike Williams.
Okay.
Or Travis Kelce, Sony Michel, and Adam Thielen.
All right, well, let's do what I do. You go with Gurley and Michel. Gurley clearly, to me, is the winner there. And then you go Kelce and Ingram. Clearly, Kelce wins that. So now we're basically even. Now you got to look at Thielen and Mike Williams. I'm going Thielen over Mike Williams. And that's wow. I can't believe I'm doing it because it's hard to say. Wow. I don't think I can do it because Thielen, to me, isn't that much of a difference between Mike Williams to where I think Gurley and Michel is a bigger gap. And the Kelce is a decent gap, but it's not huge from from Ingram. So I'm very slightly leaning towards the Gurley, Ingram, and Mike Williams.
Now, I actually am leaning the other way because it is the much safer, higher floor side, in my opinion.
Yep.
Adam Thielen is he's consistent.
Yep.
Last year, Cousins made him inconsistent in the second half of the year, but he still wasn't horrible. And you and I both think Travis Kelce could have
be a monster,
an insane Rob Gronkowski type year.
It could very well be.
And Sony Michel is Sony Michel. I try to stay away from New England running backs.
Yeah, and that's to me the gap. The gap between Gurley and Michel is the kicker for me, and that's why it's very, very close. But I wouldn't have no problem with anybody saying I got to go with Kelce and Thielen.
All right, there's no Jets in this one, so what does John think?
Yeah, I agree with you on the Sony Michel and New England running backs in general. I try to stay away as well.
Right. Yep.
But I love Kelce and Thielen. I think they're both phenomenal. And for me, that combination is better than the Gurley side for that reason. Ingram is nice, Williams is nice, but you still don't really know what you're getting there. But with Kelce and Thielen, you know what you're getting, so I'm going with that side for that reason.
Okay.
All right, one last poll we're going to talk about before we let you be on your way. And this one, I'm honestly stumped when I look at this one and what the percentage is.
Yeah.
Because I looked at it and it was probably an instant click for me.
It should be.
And this is Todd Gurley and Dalvin Cook on one side.
Sounds good.
I'm loving it. Yeah, there's some injury concern there.
Sure. Of course there is.
And the other side has Nick Chubb, Curtis Samuel, and the 113 in 2019.
Okay, so let's take that 113, put it to the side.
Put it to the side.
And we take Todd Gurley versus Chubb. I'm taking Gurley over Chubb right now.
Okay.
And, let's take Cook versus Chubb. Toss up. Whatever you want. Then we look at Samuel. Okay, so would you rather have Chubb or Samuel? And if I'm taking Cook and Chubb and tossing it up, I'm taking Cook over Samuel as well. I do not think Curtis Samuel is anywhere close to Gurley or Cook at this point.
No.
And the 113 might not be enough. So to me, it's instant almost. I would go Gurley and Cook almost hands down.
Yeah, I'm sure when I looked at that, I instantly went Todd Gurley, Dalvin Cook. Well, yeah. Of course, everybody from last year knows I love Dalvin Cook, but
the other thing you have to look at as well is Chubb right now, the first 8 weeks, I really believe he's going to have great first 8 weeks.
Sure.
But when Hunt comes back, he's going to be fresh, and I don't know what's going to happen yet with that. That's one thing. I'm not going to sit here and predict what Hunt's going to do, but that could weigh in a little bit of what Chubb is going to do for the second half of the season. At that point, you're also looking at the second half. It's really difficult because Gurley could have a really bad second half of the season if everything goes the way everybody's talking. And Cook, he's always getting injured here and getting injured there. But I'm sorry, it's Gurley, it's Cook. I can't take Chubb and Samuel in that first-round pick over both of them.
Are we crazy, John? Is there something
we're missing? One for me as well. Gurley and Cook far and away. The upside on both of those guys and the floor on both of those guys is is pretty stable. So
and
I like Chubb. Chubb's great, but there's nothing on that side that would ever, get me to sway.
And here we go.
And yet,
on the Chubb side.
58% of people have voted for the Chubb side in this one so far. So maybe this was
surprising.
an earlier poll. I'm not sure. But it was
people
so
are just
confusing
so
when I saw the results.
scared. They're so scared of Todd Gurley right now.
That's what it is, man. That's what it comes down
insane.
to.
It's insane. And I understand the scaredness of Cook to a certain degree because he hasn't put it together for 2 full seasons. But, yeah, he's got enough talent. This is clear, far and away, to me, Gurley and Cook.
Yep, I have nothing less to add on that one. The one thing we do need to talk about is Canton, Ohio.
Yes.
August 18th, the Midwest Fantasy Football Expo, which we will be with Jon Castillo.
Yeah, we're all here.
I can't talk anymore. It's the end of the show. I'm getting tired. No. We are going to hype up Fantasy Fuel and Pole Sports at the same table at the Midwest Fantasy Football Expo. So, if anybody wants to come down and talk to the man who created this, he will be there with us on August 18th. And if you want a ticket to that, go to MidwestFFExpo.com and use the code FUEL to get $5 off your ticket.
$5.
I like free money.
That free money's good. That $5 can buy you a sandwich or something.
It could. And I think there's going to be some food carts there. So
$5
there you go.
right there.
Right there. So, yeah, we're looking forward to that. Thank you so much for coming on, Jon.
Yes.
It was a pleasure.
Awesome.
I hope everybody...
thanks for having me.
Hope everybody got some questions answered if they were not 100% sure on what Pole Sports was, even though we have been talking about it for a long time now. I don't even know how long. It's been a couple of months probably that we have been talking about it.
And we've seen Pole Sports grow from where we started with it to where it is now, and it's just amazing growth. And I expect even more amazing growth in the future.
All right.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys, spreading the word and letting everyone know about Pole Sports. So thank you for having me on as well.
Yep.
This was a lot of fun. And, I'm excited to keep pushing out the updates. We have the mobile app under development right now. So I'm working on both Android and iPhone.
That's
and I'm
awesome.
shooting to have it ready by the football season.
Yeah, well, either way, I mean, I use my computer more than my phone when it gets to the season, so it won't matter which, but my phone's never too far away. So if and when that app gets ready and the season is here, I will use whatever is at my disposal. And Tom and I, like I said, we will be doing live shows, Sunday mornings before kickoffs. So if you have questions, you can come on. You can give us a call at 608-492-3443 when the time comes, or anytime. You can ask us a question. You can ask our opinion of any of the polls you've seen on pollsports.com. So I guess that is going to wrap it up. And I'd like to tell you where you can find us. Obviously, you can go to pollsports.com. We're going to be there. You'll see which way we vote eventually. You can listen to us on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, all over the place. You can find us on Twitter at Fantasy Fuel and Facebook.com/Fantasy Fuel. And if you have a affinity for weird news, you can find me on the Average Joe Show. That's at sayitproductions.com/YouTube on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. And if you like audio dramas, I love them. I can't get enough of them. I wish I had more time at work to listen to them because I am getting behind on the ones I like to listen to. But I play a voice on the Veiled Monarch, Isaac Carrillo, and I will be playing a voice on a spin-off of the Veiled Monarch called The Veiled West, which is basically going to be a prequel. Ooh. And that actually comes out 3 days before we're in Canton.
Oh, wow. So, well, you might as well listen to that on your way to Canton.
Yeah, I don't think that 15 minutes is going to take up much of our 7.5-hour drive, but we'll listen.
We'll listen to it, 20 times.
Okay, that sounds good. All right. That's going to do it for us. Again, thank you, Jon, for being here. It was a pleasure. And, we will see you next week with a whole new set of polls that we will do when we start up the show. We like to answer those at the beginning of the episodes from now on. And, don't forget, stay fueled up this fantasy season.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yep.